Picture this. Two of the richest families in all of Dallas, Texas, absolutely hate each other. We're talking generations of bad blood. Thanksgiving dinners ruined, fistfights in parking lots, grudges so old that nobody even remembers how it started anymore.
On one side, you've got the Campbells. Proud, powerful, the kind of family that puts their name on buildings.
On the other side, you've got the Parkers, just as proud, just as powerful. And they cannot stand the Campbells one single bit. Now here's what nobody is telling you yet. Two kids from these families are about to fall in love. And that love, it's going to change everything, but not in the way you're hoping. Stay with me. The trouble starts on a Tuesday afternoon when a group of Parker boys run into a group of Campbell boys right outside a barbecue joint on Main Street. Words get thrown, shoulders get bumped, and before the sweet tea even hits the table, there's a full brawl happening on the sidewalk.
The mayor of Dallas, a man named Judge Williams, shows up and he is done with this. He looks both families dead in the eye and says real simple and real slow, "Next time any of you start trouble in my city, somebody's getting kicked out of Dallas. Permanently." Both families nod. Both families smile. Both families go home and keep hating each other quietly. But here's the thing nobody sees coming yet. Meet Ryan Campbell, 19 years old. Good-looking kid. Spends most of his time writing sad notes in his journal about a girl named Ashley who doesn't even know he's alive. His cousin Ben is genuinely worried about this boy. Ben tries everything. Conversations, jokes, drives around Dallas blasting music with the windows down. Nothing works. Ryan just keeps moping around like a golden retriever who lost his favorite ball. Then, one night, Ben gets hold of an invitation. The Parker family is throwing the biggest party of the year at their giant ranch house just outside the city. A real Texas celebration. Live music, lights strung up everywhere, half of Dallas invited. Ben holds up that invitation and grins at Ryan. Ashley's gonna be there, he says. Ryan's ears perk up. They decide to go, even though they're Campbells walking into a Parker party. They put on nice boots, grab their buddy Chris for backup, and they walk right through that front door. And this is where everything changes. Because Ryan never even looks for Ashley. The second he walks into that party, he sees her. Her name is Julia Parker, and Ryan Campbell cannot breathe. She's laughing at something her friend said. Her hair is catching the string lights. She has no idea that the boy staring at her from across the room just forgot every single thing he ever thought he knew about love. Julia feels it too. But here's what neither one of them knows yet. Julia's dad is Big Tom Parker. And the angry man who just spotted Ryan from across the room is her Uncle Dale. And Dale Campbell knows exactly who Ryan is. He knows those boots. He knows that face. He starts walking over with fire in his eyes. But Big Tom stops him. "Not tonight, Dale," he says, quietly. "Not in my house." Dale backs off, barely. Ryan and Julia say goodnight. Ryan walks to his truck. He drives about 100 yards down the road, and then he stops. He turns that truck around. He can't leave. He sneaks back to the Parker Ranch. He stands below Julia's balcony in the warm Texas night. She appears up there, like she knew he was coming. And right there, under a sky full of stars, they make each other a promise. They're going to get married tomorrow. There's one man in Dallas who believes these two kids might actually be the answer. His name is Pastor Mike. He's been the Campbell family's preacher for 30 years.
He knows Ryan since the boy was in Sunday school, drawing horses in the margins of his Bible. When Ryan comes to him the next morning and says he wants to marry Julia Parker, Pastor Mike doesn't laugh. He doesn't yell. He gets very quiet. He looks at Ryan for a long time, and then he says something that carries the whole weight of the story. "I'll do this, because maybe your love is the thing that finally ends the hate between those two families." He says yes, but then he adds something Ryan doesn't want to hear. "Son, love this fast and this hot, it burns just as fast." Ryan smiles, shakes Pastor Mike's hand, and doesn't really hear the second part. That afternoon, Julia sneaks away from the ranch. Ryan is waiting at Pastor Mike's small church on the edge of town. The wood floors creak, the ceiling fans turn slow. They get married. Just the two of them and Pastor Mike. Nobody else in the world knows. And that secret, that beautiful, dangerous secret, is already starting to crack everything open. The very same afternoon they get married, Ryan's best friend Chris runs into Dale Parker downtown. Now, Chris has a mouth on him, and Dale has a temper on him, and Dallas in July is hot enough to make anybody mean. Words become shoves. Shoves become fists. And Dale Parker pulls a knife. Ryan shows up just in time to jump between them. He grabs Dale's arm. He's trying to stop it. He's screaming that it doesn't have to go this way. He has every reason in the world to stop this fight, because Dale Parker is now his family. But here's the thing about trying to hold two angry men apart. Dale gets around Ryan, and Chris falls. Ryan watches his best friend hit the pavement. Something breaks open inside that boy. Something he cannot put back. He turns around and Dale Parker is standing there, and Ryan cannot think clearly anymore. He cannot remember the wedding or the promise or Pastor Mike's warning. He only sees Chris on the ground. The fight happens in about 45 seconds, and when it's over, Dale Parker is not getting up. Judge Williams arrives. He looks at Ryan Campbell standing there in the middle of Main Street. "You are done in Dallas," the judge says. "Get out of this city and don't come back." Ryan has been married for 4 hours, and now he's being sent to Houston with nothing but the clothes on his back. Julia finds out what happened. First, she's angry. Then she's devastated. Then she's angry again. But she loves Ryan, and love in this state doesn't die easy. She cries herself through that night, and by morning, she has made her decision. She will find a way to get to Houston. She will find Ryan. They will figure this out together. But then her father walks into her room and sits down on the edge of her bed and says something that takes all the air out of the room. "You're marrying Bobby Williams," Big Tom says, "the judge's son, this weekend. I already shook on it." Julia cannot speak. "This is good for the family," Big Tom says. "Bobby's a good man." He walks out. Julia runs to the one person she can think of, the woman who raised her, her nanny, her second mother, a woman everyone calls Miss June. Miss June has held this girl through every hard thing in her life. Julia grabs her hands and says, "I would rather be dead than marry Bobby Williams." Miss June doesn't know what to do with that, so she tells Julia to go talk to Pastor Mike. Pastor Mike has a plan. It's a risky plan. It's the kind of plan that requires perfect timing and complete trust and zero mistakes. He gives Julia a small bottle. "Drink this the night before the wedding," he says. "You'll fall into a sleep so deep that everyone will think you've passed. They'll take you to the Parker family tomb out on the ranch. I'll get word to Ryan in Houston. He'll come get you. You wake up, You both disappear. You start over somewhere new. Julia takes the bottle. She goes home and she sits with it for a long time. Then she drinks it. This is the part of the story that is so hard to hear, because everything that happens next happens because of one missed message. Pastor Mike sends his friend Gary to Houston to find Ryan and explain the plan. But Gary runs into car trouble on I-45, gets stuck for hours. By the time he's back on the road, someone else has already reached Ryan. It's Ben, Ryan's cousin.
Ben doesn't know about the plan. He only knows what he saw with his own eyes. He calls Ryan and says, "Ryan, Julia is gone. They found her this morning. She's gone, brother." Ryan hangs up the phone and he drives back to Dallas. He goes to the Parker Ranch. He finds the family tomb in the back field under a big live oak tree. He goes inside, and there she is, Julia, lying still, looking peaceful, looking like she's just sleeping.
But Ryan doesn't know she's sleeping. He sits down beside her and takes her hand. "I'm not leaving you," he says. He pulls out something he bought at a gas station on the way back into Dallas, something that ends things quickly. He says goodbye to a world that put them on opposite sides of a line neither one of them ever drew. And he's gone. 45 seconds later, Julia's eyes open. She wakes up slowly, the way you do when you've been somewhere deep. She sees Pastor Mike standing at the door of the tomb with a lantern. His face tells her everything before his mouth does. She looks to her left. She sees Ryan. There are no words written that are big enough for what happens inside Julia Parker in that moment, so we won't try to find them. She holds his face in her hands for a long time. She says something very quiet that only the Texas night hears. And then Julia Parker makes the same choice Ryan made. She does not survive that tomb. By morning, all of Dallas knows. The Campbells come to the Parker Ranch. The Parkers are already there. Judge Williams stands between them in the early light. Nobody's throwing punches. Nobody's saying anything sharp. For the first time in longer than anyone can remember, both families are just quiet. Big Tom Parker and the head of the Campbell family, a man named Frank, stand about 10 feet apart. They look at each other. 2 daughters, 2 sons, 4 parents. 1 field. "Look at what your hate built," he says, and his voice is low and tired and old. "Look right here at what it made." Frank Campbell walks toward Big Tom Parker. He reaches out his hand. Big Tom looks at it for a long time. Then he takes it. No speeches, no cameras, no handshake deal with lawyers watching. Just 2 old men in boots, standing in the dirt of a Texas morning, holding each other's hand over something they can never undo.
Here's the thing about Ryan Campbell and Julia Parker. They didn't fail. The world around them failed. The grudges failed. The pride failed. The secrets failed. The missed messages and the bad timing and the stubbornness of 2 families who forgot that hate is just grief wearing a mean face, all of that failed. Ryan and Julia just loved each other. That part worked perfectly. And here is the strongest truth this story carries, the one worth sitting with. Most of the damage in our lives isn't done by our enemies. It's done by the walls we build around the people we love most. The Campbells and the Parkers didn't lose their kids to each other. They lost them to themselves. 2 kids in Texas saw past every wall.
They saw past the names and the ranches and the history and the bad blood. They just saw a person they wanted to be close to. And for a little while, under a Dallas sky full of stars, that was enough. It should have been enough for everyone else, too. Rest easy, Ryan. Rest easy, Julia. Dallas remembers.